Really didn't destroy a beautiful song for her. She asked graciously for me to come and interlope a little bit, so and that's what I did. It's just I love the song and
For decades, Dwight Yoakam has been more than just a country music icon. He's been a legend who blurred the lines between honky-tonk grit and Hollywood charm. With that signature cowboy hat, tight jeans, and unmistakable twang, he helped redefine modern country music in the 1980s and 1990s. But now, shocking new reports about the singer have left fans heartbroken and deeply concerned. The latest news surrounding Dwight Yoakam has made headlines across the country. And it's not about a new album or a movie role. It's something far more personal and far more devastating. At 68, the man who gave us classics like A Thousand Miles from Nowhere and Guitars, Cadillacs has suddenly found himself in the center of emotional turmoil. Sources close to Dwight say that his health, his reclusive lifestyle, and recent heartbreaking revelations have worried even his most loyal friends. Once one of the most active and charismatic performers in Nashville, Yoakam has now retreated from the spotlight, sparking speculation about what's really going on behind the scenes. For fans who have followed his career from the start, this news hits hard. Dwight was the outsider who fought his way to the top of the country world, the rebel who never played by Nashville's rules. But even rebels aren't immune to time, pain, and loss. As the headlines spread, one question remains. What really happened to Dwight Yoakam? And what does this mean for his future? This is the story behind the headlines. The truth about Dwight Yoakam's life today, his hidden battles, and the heartbreaking turn no one saw coming. Long before the headlines and the heartbreak, Dwight Yoakam was a young man from Pikeville, Kentucky, with a dream far bigger than his small-town roots. Born in 1956, he grew up listening to classic country legends like Buck Owens, Merle Haggard, and Hank Williams. But even as a child, Dwight's musical instincts were different. He wasn't content to simply copy the past. He wanted to reshape it. When his family moved to Columbus, Ohio, Dwight was already showing signs of the restless creativity that would one day make him famous. He played in local bands, wrote his own songs, and dreamed of Nashville stardom. But when he finally arrived in Music City in the late 1970s, the response was cold. His twang was too raw, his style too rock-influenced, and his look, complete with tight jeans and a rebellious swagger, didn't fit the polished Nashville image. He was told, time and again, "You'll never make it here." So Dwight did what few others dared. He left Nashville behind and took his music to Los Angeles. It was there, far from the country establishment, that he finally found his audience. Performing in rock clubs alongside bands like the Blasters and Los Lobos, he introduced country music to an entirely new generation of fans. His debut album, Guitars, Cadillacs, etc., 1986, was an instant success. Critics hailed it as a revolution, a raw, emotional revival of true honky-tonk sound. Suddenly, the man Nashville had rejected became one of country's biggest stars. His voice was hauntingly sincere, his lyrics full of heartbreak and grit, and his stage presence unforgettable. Songs like Honky Tonk Man, Little Ways, and Streets of Bakersfield became instant classics, blending traditional country soul with rock and roll edge. Buck Owens, one of Yoakam's childhood heroes, even came out of retirement to record a duet with him, a moment that Dwight described as the greatest honor of my life. But fame never came easy for Dwight. Behind his confident smile and rebellious image was a man who constantly felt like an outsider, both in Nashville and in Hollywood. While other stars enjoyed the safety of belonging to the industry machine, Dwight always stood alone. He once said, "Being different is what got me here, but it's also what keeps me apart." By the early 1990s, Dwight Yoakam wasn't just a musician. He was a cultural icon. He crossed over into acting, starring in films like Sling Blade, Panic Room, and The Newton Boys. His versatility shocked critics who had once dismissed him as just another country singer. Yet, with every new success came a new loneliness. The price of doing things his way was isolation, a theme that quietly echoed through his music. Still, fans adored him. His concerts were electric, filled with raw energy and heartfelt emotion. Every performance felt personal, like he was singing directly to the broken hearts in the audience. He had everything: fame, fortune, respect, and artistic freedom. But deep down, Dwight Yoakam remained the same small-town boy, haunted by the fear of being forgotten, misunderstood, and alone. As he entered the new millennium, it seemed like Dwight had finally made peace with his place in the world. But fame, as he would soon learn, doesn't protect anyone from life's cruel turns. And as the years went by, the rebel of country music would face challenges that not even his toughest lyrics could prepare him for. Because behind the success and the spotlight was a man quietly fighting battles no one could see. Battles that would one day resurface, changing everything we thought we knew about Dwight Yoakam. Behind Dwight Yoakam's ever-present cowboy hat and charismatic grin lies a story few fans truly know. One filled with private struggles, emotional lows, and a relentless fight to stay relevant in a brutal industry that forgets its stars as quickly as it makes them. Throughout the 1990s, Dwight was riding high. His blend of honky-tonk twang and rock-and-roll swagger made him one of country's most distinctive voices. But as Nashville began chasing pop-influenced sounds in the 2000s, Yoakam's style was labeled old-fashioned. Radio airplay dwindled. Record executives who once begged for his attention stopped returning calls. The man who brought grit and authenticity to country music suddenly found himself on the outside looking in. This professional cold shoulder hit Dwight hard. Friends described him as withdrawn, spending long nights alone in his Los Angeles home, surrounded by guitars and half-finished songs. He didn't want to admit it, one longtime associate recalled, but he was hurting. Music was his life, and he felt like the industry had turned its back on him. But Dwight wasn't just facing fading fame. His health, too, was taking a toll. Years of constant touring, sleepless nights, and emotional exhaustion began catching up to him. Those close to the singer said he'd often push through pain to keep performing, refusing to show weakness. Dwight's the kind of guy who'll go on stage with a fever, a broken heart, or a broken bone, a fellow musician once said. He believes the show must go on. At one point, rumors swirled about Yoakam collapsing before a show due to exhaustion. While he never confirmed it publicly, his absence from several planned appearances only fueled speculation. Yet, in true Dwight fashion, he brushed off concerns and told interviewers, "I'm fine, just needed a breather." Behind that calm response was a man grappling with pressure, perfectionism, and the loneliness that often haunts artists who live their lives on the road. Dwight once admitted that he'd never been good at balancing relationships with his career. "It's hard to give your heart to someone when you're always chasing the next town," he said, in a rare, reflective interview. Those emotional scars ran deep. Though he had several high-profile relationships, including one with actress Sharon Stone, Yoakam never married or had children, a fact that often surprises fans. Insiders believe that solitude, while painful, became his way of protecting himself from further heartbreak. Yet, even during his darkest times, Dwight refused to surrender his artistry. When mainstream country shut him out, he reinvented himself as an actor, appearing in critically acclaimed films like Sling Blade and Panic Room. His performances revealed the same authenticity that defined his music: quiet intensity, raw emotion, and a haunting sense of realism. Still, behind those roles and performances was a man trying to rediscover who he was outside of fame. In one touching moment during a 2010 concert, Dwight paused mid-show and told the crowd, "It's funny, You can have a room full of people singing your songs and still feel completely alone. Fans cheered, unaware of how honest that statement really was. As the years passed, Dwight Yoakam found a way to live with both his success and his solitude. His music evolved, less commercial, more personal, echoing the wisdom and weariness of a man who's seen it all. While the world saw a confident performer in a rhinestone jacket, those close to him saw a survivor quietly fighting to keep his spirit intact. In recent years, whispers about his declining health have returned, sparking concern among fans who wonder if their beloved country icon is hiding more than he lets on. Whether those rumors hold truth or not, one thing remains clear. Dwight Yoakam has weathered storms that would have broken lesser men. And through it all, his haunting voice, that unmistakable Kentucky drawl, continues to remind the world that behind every melody lies a story, and behind every smile, sometimes, a silent struggle. After years of silence and speculation, few believed Dwight Yoakam would ever return to the spotlight in a meaningful way. The country world had moved on, replaced by glossy, radio-friendly acts who seemed to care more about image than soul. But Dwight, always the rebel, had no interest in following trends. Instead, he decided to do what he'd always done best: write from the heart. In 2012, Yoakam stunned the industry with his album Three Peers, a project that critics hailed as one of his finest works in decades. It wasn't just a comeback. It was a reminder of what real artistry looked like. Each song was soaked in emotional honesty, capturing everything he'd lived through: the isolation, the heartbreak, and the quiet resilience. Rolling Stone called it a return to form for a man who never really lost it. The album's success reignited interest in Dwight's career. Suddenly, he was appearing on late-night shows, touring packed venues, and even winning new fans among younger generations who admired his authenticity. His music began trending again, not because of flashy marketing, but because listeners felt something genuine in his sound. It was as if Dwight had re-emerged from the shadows to remind the world what real country music was supposed to be. But while fans celebrated his return, Dwight approached it with humility. "I'm just grateful people still care to listen," he told an interviewer. "You can't take that for granted. Fame fades, but connection, that's what lasts." Behind the scenes, Yoakam made a conscious decision to slow down. He surrounded himself with loyal musicians and close friends who'd stood by him through the lean years. He became more selective with his projects, prioritizing quality over quantity. "I think you reach a point in life," he once said, "where you stop running and start appreciating." And perhaps that's why this chapter of his life feels so different. Gone is the restless, fame-driven young man from the 1980s. In his place stands a reflective artist, one who's made peace with his past and found beauty in simplicity. Still, the road wasn't without challenges. During his return to touring, Dwight faced ongoing whispers about his health. Fans noticed he had lost weight and seemed more fragile. But even when pressed, he refused to discuss personal matters, preferring to let the music speak for him. "I've been through a lot," he once admitted, "but I'm still here, and I plan to keep showing up." His resilience became a source of inspiration not only to fans, but to fellow artists who saw in him the rare ability to endure. He mentored rising country singers, reminding them that success means little without integrity. "You don't need Nashville's approval to make good music," he told one up-and-coming artist backstage. "You just need honesty. That's what people feel." One of the most moving moments of this comeback came when Dwight was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award. Standing on stage, his voice cracking with emotion, he said, "This isn't about me. It's about every person who's ever felt like they were done, forgotten, or counted out. If you still have something in your heart, keep going. Those words resonated deeply, especially for fans who had followed him from the early days. For them, Dwight Yoakam wasn't just a country star. He was living proof that no matter how far you fall, you can always find your way back by embracing his age, his scars, and his truth. Dwight turned what could have been a quiet fade into one of the most graceful second acts in country music. And even now, as he performs fewer shows and speaks less to the press, his legacy continues to grow, carried not by hype, but by heart. In many ways, Dwight Yoakam's story isn't just about music. It's about survival, humility, and the courage to rediscover yourself when the world stops cheering. His comeback isn't defined by charts or awards. It's defined by the quiet power of a man who never gave up on what made him who he is. Today, Dwight Yoakam's life looks nothing like the whirlwind years of his fame. Gone are the endless tours, chaotic schedules, and the pressure to constantly outdo himself. Instead, Dwight has traded in the bright lights of Nashville and Los Angeles for a quieter, more private existence, one that he's deliberately built away from the noise. But behind that calm exterior lies a deeper, more emotional truth about where the country legend really stands today. At 68, Yoakam has reached a point of reflection. Friends describe him as thoughtful, soft-spoken, and fiercely private. A man who guards his personal life with the same precision he once brought to his songwriting. His marriage to Emily Joyce, whom he wed in 2020 after nearly a decade together, has brought him stability he'd long been searching for. Together, they welcomed a son, Dalton, a moment that Dwight himself called life's greatest encore. For a man who spent most of his life alone on the road, fatherhood has given him a new sense of meaning. However, even as he embraces this new chapter, concerns about his health have surfaced. Fans noticed that Dwight appeared frail during his last few public appearances, and his noticeable absence from several major events only fueled speculation. Those close to him insist that Dwight is simply choosing peace over publicity, focusing on his family, writing music at his own pace, and staying out of the public eye by choice, not by illness. Still, whispers persist, and the lack of official updates only deepens the mystery surrounding his current condition. In interviews, Dwight has spoken about aging with a mixture of grace and realism. "The body slows down," he once said, "but the soul doesn't. You start seeing life differently. The applause fades, the lights dim, but what remains is what you built inside. The songs, the memories, the love." His words struck a chord with fans who grew up idolizing him, many of whom are now reflecting on their own lives and losses, even in semi-retirement. Dwight's influence continues to echo through the industry. Younger country artists, from Chris Stapleton to Sturgill Simpson, often cite him as a major inspiration. His blend of authenticity and rebellious spirit remains unmatched, a reminder that country music doesn't have to be about trends or image, but about truth. That's Dwight's greatest gift to the genre, his unwavering dedication to sincerity. He still occasionally steps back into the public eye, whether it's a rare live performance, a surprise guest appearance, or a nostalgic tribute. Each time, fans are reminded why they fell in love with him in the first place. There's a rawness in his voice, a tenderness that comes only from years of living, loving, and losing. It's not just music anymore. It's a lifetime poured into every note. Yet, even with all the praise and nostalgia, Dwight Yoakam remains grounded. He said many times that fame was never his goal. Expression was. "If I can leave behind something real, that's enough for me," he once told a close friend. And he has. From platinum records to movie roles, from heartbreak to happiness, Dwight has done what most artists dream of. He's lived fully, authentically, and on his own terms. The truth behind the headlines, then, isn't tragic. It's beautifully human. Dwight Yoakam may have stepped out of the spotlight, but he hasn't disappeared. He's simply chosen a different kind of stage, one lit by love, peace, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing he's already said everything he needed to say. And perhaps that's the most powerful part of his story. After decades of chasing dreams, Dwight Yoakam's final act isn't about fame or legacy. It's about gratitude. For the fans who never stopped believing, for the music that still carries his soul, and for the simple, enduring joy of being alive.